know what a geometric form is? Well, I've got to admit my high school geometry is a little bit rusty, so I had to look it up. This month's challenge, suggested by Sam Angelo, is to turn a box or a bowl or a hollow form, but it needs to be a geometric shape. So if you want to see what I came up with, keep watching. So a geometric form is a three-dimensional shape that can be described using mathematical principles, typically with irregular contours and distinct characteristics. These forms are often considered man-made because they adhere to specific rules of construction and are easily measurable and described using mathematical formulas. Example include spheres, cubes, pyramids, cylinders, and cones. So I decided to turn a spherical hollow form. Let me show you how I did it. Okay, so for this project I'm going to use, I think, 2 pieces of wood. I got a piece of dark walnut that would make a nice base of contrast with this lighter spalted maple. This is about 5 1/4. I marked centered with using this plastic template on both sides, and now let's go to the lathe with it. Since this is a fairly good sized piece of wood and it's not perfectly squared, I don't want to use the steb center I normally use because that doesn't work as well if the teeth are not touching all the way around. So I'm going to use this 6 prong, which will bite into it pretty good. And then we're going to go ahead and mount this tween center. So let's reach in there. I like to kind of make sure the Morse taper is clean. Okay, got it mounted between centers. Make sure it clears. Turn it on for safety. Looks like it's fairly well balanced. So I rounded this tween centers. And now I need to put a tenon on this end. So let's do that. Let's bring this down a little bit. And I'm going to use my 8mm beading and parting tool. And I'm going to make a dovetail for the chuck jaws that require it. Get the edge off. So I measured the diameter to be 5 inches. I'm going to come off and measure down about 6 inches. I'm going to go ahead and take off this waist. I might be able to use it for something, but it doesn't need to be longer than 6 inches for this project. Down near the end, I think I can almost twist that off. Let's see. Let's see if I can. Yeah. Not sure what I can use that for, but maybe a platform or something. Alright, I want to make a template, the diameter or the circumference of the blank I'm using, similar to this one. This is too small, and the easiest way to cut that curve I found is just to mount the thing on a flat plate and cut it out with a tool like a parting tool. So I could use hot melt glue on this, but what I'm going to use, I find the fastest and easiest way is to use turner's tape. I've had this roll of turner's tape since I first started turning. I don't use it very often, but it's very handy when I do and very strong. So I need to put it under pressure a little bit. So I've got this marked. I'm just going to bring it up. Then I'll let it set for about 10 minutes so it can get full strength. Okay, it's set up long enough. Let's get off the tailstock, take off the clamps. Get it up to about 800. And we're just going to come in right here. There we go. So now we got us a perfectly round circle. I can go ahead and pry this off with a chisel, and then we'll cut it across here to have my template. So I set the calipers to the diameter,
Then I'm going to use that to set the diameter in this direction. And now I want to get the center of that. So this is actually 120, I believe 126 millimeters. So I'm going to do 63 millimeters, which I just find millimeters are just a lot easier to work with. So I'm going to mark the center. And now we've got it divided into two parts. Now before I start shaping this, I'm going to use a little math. I'm not going to get into details, but I'm going to mark a line from the center, 0.41 times the radius of 63. I'm going to put that here. And then I'm also going to put it over here. So with a band around the middle, it's 0.41 times the diameter. And this mark down here, 0.41 times diameter, I'm just going to initially connect this line with this line. And then after that, we'll start working it with a template by eye. But I think this will make it a little faster and easier to get started. Okay, then I'm going to do something similar on the other end. So I'm going to part down here, but I'm not going to remove all of this wood because I'm going to have to hollow this.
If you're enjoying this video, it'd help me a whole lot if you'd hit the like button so you could communicate to the YouTube algorithm to send this out to other woodturners like yourself.
Now I split the distance between this line, and I'm going to connect these two, and then I've split this difference, and I'm going to kind of cut off that corner. See that? Now let's cut off this corner. Here, line here, make it a little easier to connect those dots. And you can see we're almost at a circle on this side. I'll use that template to start bringing this down. Bringing it around. That looks good. That looks pretty good. Other than these little sharp edges got to be refined. Otherwise it's shaping up good. I think I'll probably wind up using a scraper to kind of smooth those up. Now I'm ready to start drilling this out and hollowing. I'm going to use a 1-inch drill bit. I'm drilling a hole 4.5 inches deep. I've already started. speed no more than 500. I've had drilled about 4.5 inches deep, and now it's time for me to start the hollowing process. Okay, I've removed the tailstock, so I've got room to maneuver this handle. I'm using a John Jordan half inch set of hollowing tools, and we'll see how that goes, but I may switch to a full-blown hollowing system to get this done right. Anchor the tool. Remove the wood. And you need to clear out the chips quite frequently. Hollowing, it's very important to keep those chips cleared. Sometimes you can't just blow them out. You got to rake them out because they get impacted along the wall. Before I set up my hollowing rig, I need to take off the tailstock, and I've got this extension here, this wooden extension, so I can slide it on and roll it out of the way. Got a few chips to roll over. I think I'll sweep up before I go too much further. For hollowing, I'm using the Jamieson hollowing rig system. I've been using this for about 10 years. I really like it because it's rugged, it's easy to set up, it's not complicated, and it's got a fairly low learning curve. Let me talk briefly about bar size. The bar size is 3/4 inch. These are 1/2 inch Jordan handheld. I just find the handheld, once you go more than just a few inches, I find it difficult and a little more stressful to use compared to this. But in terms of the size of the bar, with a 1/2 inch a bar, you can go somewhere around 5 or 6 inches. With a 3/4 inch bar, you can go somewhere closer to 10 or 11 inches. Roughly about 14 times the bar diameter is how thick you can go before you start getting into excessive vibration. But I've got another video on reviewing this system. I'm not going to get into a lot of detail on how I use this, but it does have a laser setup, and it's quick and easy to set up and use, as you'll see. Here's a close-up of the laser assembly, and it does help you keep uniformly thin walls and reduces your chances of cutting through the walls, but you do need to make some adjustments and calibrate it. And here it shows the dot, and when it comes off the wood, it means you're at the right thickness. This one's kind of fooled you because of the camera angle. I'm really not that close. Generally, in hollowing, there's two major types of cutters. There's these high-speed steel tips that are 3/16 of an inch. They're used on a metal lathe. They're 2.5 inches long, and you cut them in half and make two different cutters out of them. These are a real common use. They're basically scrapers. The other option is that fits in the same types of systems as this 3/16 inch holder that uses a Hunter, I can raise this up a little bit, a Hunter carbide tip that slices instead of scrapes, and it's the holder has this twisted at an angle, so it's cutting similar to using a bowl gouge on the inside of a bowl. These are very effective. These need to be sharpened. I'll demonstrate that in just a moment. These, when they get dull, you throw them away. There's a pivot point. You've got to put a little divot in and drill a little bit of a dimple in here for the pivot point because it's a little bit closer, but works very similar to Vera grind, except it's just fast and easy. Just bring it around like this, and you're sharp in no time at all. Okay, I've hollowed in the top half. Now I'm ready to work on the bottom half, and I wanted to get the outside shape down a little bit first, but keep it big to support the mass while I'm hollowing. So here's the diameter here. I drew the diameter line here, and I'm going to take a parting cut down to that, and then shape this down a little bit, and then start working on the bottom hollowing. Want to leave some support down there. So now I'm going to bring this around my 1/2 inch spindle gouge and just start continuing that curve. Okay, that's looking good. Now I've got to clean up this a little bit. I didn't get it quite as smooth as I wanted to. Since it's grain is going this way, I think I'd probably deal with that with a skew and get a little bit of planing cut. Get rid of some of those tool marks. Let's give that a try. For planing cut, you want to be up here around the 11. If this is a clock face, you want to be up here around the 11 o'clock area. The tool, ride the bevel, slowly lift the handle. I didn't like that. Oh man. Sometimes the skew is grabbing a tiger by the tail. But I've still got plenty of wall through here, so I can clean that up. What a mess. Some days are like that, aren't they? So, let me take my 1/2 inch spindle gouge and see if I can't clean this surface up. Cleaned it up. Got a little bit of a tool mark here. I think I'll use a shear scraper for that. Alright, now I'm ready to get back to hollowing. I'm trying to decide what to do with the base. I think I'm going to put this on a block of wood, so I think I'll probably leave a tenon to go in a recess. But meanwhile, let's finish hollowing. I really like this Jamieson tool rest with a threaded collar because you can really tune this in by just adjusting this and get it exactly where you want it to cut on center. Don't necessarily have to be all that precise on a lot of cuts, but for hollowing this is a very nice feature. Every time you change the cutter or adjust it for a different part of the shape, you've got to recalibrate exactly where the laser is to make sure you've got the right, it's going to show the right depth. In this case, the bar is just bumping, so I've got to raise it up just a little bit so it clears the opening. Okay, I've got it hollowed to my satisfaction. Now I just need to clean up the bottom. So when I bring my template around, I'm real happy with the curve until it gets right about here, and then this needs to be thinned out some. And this is a little bit short, so I need to bring this down another 1/8 of an inch or so. So I'm going to start with that with the parting tool. can finish shaping that that bottom. Again, using a 3/8 inch spindle gouge. Checking. Getting any better? Still got a little bulge here. Okay, I put a fresh burr on my shear scraper. I put a little bit of chalk on there to see exactly where the high spot is on here and here. And we'll just fine tune it a little bit. On this side I've got to change direction, so let me use my spear point scraper. I'm going to power sand the outside of this, starting at 120. I'm going to park this down. I want to leave a little short tenon, about 3/4 of an inch diameter, to mount this on the blank base. Bring that up a little bit. Okay, that'll do it. Okay, pretty rough surface there, but I think that's going to be below the surface of the blanks I'm going to be using. I'm going to be mounting this on a 5x8 piece of off-center mahogany, so I think that'll disguise that, so I'm not going to worry about sanding the final shaping. I'm just going to go ahead and part that off using the thin parting tool. Let's use a flush cut saw to finish this off. Whoa! Still almost got away from it. Okay, that looks nice. I'm very pleased with that. Now I've got to mount this off center, drill a hole, and make a concave area to mount this in. Since I've already got this scrap mounted in the chuck, I think I'm going to use that as a backer board for the work I'm going to do on the base. All I got to do is flatten it. Okay, let's see how flat it is. I've got a little rocking in the middle. And that looks good. Okay, I'm going to use a little double stick tape. I've marked a hole. I'm using the golden ratio of this 5x8. So we take 5 inches, take half of it, and I'm going to mark this 2.5. That's going to be where the sphere is going to mount. After a bit of reflection, I've decided maybe that's not the best plan with this being off center, swinging around. So I'm going to make a recess on the bottom and then rechuck it, turn it around to do the concave portion. So I put those same measurements that I had on the bottom that I had on the top. Again, I'm still using that scrap, put a little piece of foam in there to give a little bit of friction while I turn that recess. that recess in there, right about there. I think that'll do it. Now I use that recess I just made to chuck this. Press it in the center. There we go. And let's see. What we're going to do first. First thing we're going to do is drill a hole 3/4 of an inch with a 3/4 inch bit to mount the sphere in. So let's do that. The easiest way for us to clean up the back is do another chucking operation. So I'm going to use a screw chuck. It takes a 13/64 inch hole. I'm going to drill it about ½ inch deep. A little speed down here. So here's my screw chuck. I got a little spacer there, so I don't have to go too deep. Be careful of this mahogany, it's awfully soft and it can sure get dinged and dented. Alright. Okay. Now all I'm going to do is maybe touch this up with a little sandpaper, knock this off, just clean up the rough edges, maybe put a little ring in there. Refiner tool might help. There's the bottom a little bit. A little bit of feature right there. I think that'll take care of it. Alright, now that I got the bottom finished, I'll touch this up on a belt sander. I'll go ahead and take this apart and switch back to my other chuck. And hold it in the center, just snug it up, 3/4 inch forstner bit. Put in the drill stock. There, and I think this is maybe a little less than 1/2 inch, but we're going to hollow it out some, so I'll probably won't make a lot of difference. I'll probably go at least 3/4 inch. Put the speed down, below 400. I think 3/4 inch is going to be plenty. So I probably need to go down at least, maybe 3/8 inch. And measure about how wide it needs to be. It looks like about 2 1/4 inches. Come down there a little bit with a bowl gouge, and then we'll come in there and clean it up with a scraper probably. Speed up a little bit. Oh yeah, that looks good. Just open it just a touch more. I like that.
Used Osmo finish on the mahogany base and Minwax antique oil, several coats to bring out the rippled, beautiful figure in the maple sphere. So don't miss the opportunity to see how my other three-way collaboration partners, Richard Raffin, Tomislav Tomasets, and Sam Angelo, interpreted this project. Your questions and feedback matter to me, so please leave them in the comments section below. And remember, y'all stay safe and come on back, you hear?